Hello, I'm CJ Wellerman. Don't forget to subscribe to our show. Now let's get into it. Last week I finished reading this incredible book by renowned historian Karen Armstrong. It reads as a biographical account of the Prophet Muhammad, based on verified historical testimonies and documents. The book is not only an incredible source of information, but also got me thinking about where our corrupt, unjust, poverty-stricken world would be right now were Prophet Muhammad alive today. Because once you understand the life and leadership of Islam's founder, then you have to agree with the overarching premise of this book, that Islam's prophet is not only a prophet for our time, but also the Western world. It's just evidently obvious that the world is in dire need of his profound moral leadership, given our societies have been ravaged by war, racism, greed, and self-obsessed materialism. I will talk more about each of these points throughout this episode. But let's back the truck up for a moment, because it's important to set the scene and remind our audience that we launched this program 2 years ago to counter what we believe to be the most pernicious force in the world today, Islamophobia. Because wherever you find Muslims, you find a people who are vilified, occupied, persecuted, and killed. It's impossible to argue that the global war on terror hasn't morphed into a global war on Islam, making modern Islamophobia the new Crusades. Today, Islamophobia sits at the heart of policies and actions that abuse and mistreat Muslims in India, Kashmir, Palestine, Myanmar, East Turkestan, and elsewhere. But the question is this: what drives or fuels Islamophobia? Well, during my 13 years as a journalist and activist against anti-Muslim discrimination, I have discovered the answer to that question, and I'll share it with you now. It's the myth that Islam is a chronically violent religion, which is a misconception based on boundless ignorance among non-Muslims about the story of Islam's founder and prophet, Muhammad. For instance, American evangelical leaders have characterized Islam's prophet in vulgar and obscene terms. Pat Robertson called the Prophet Muhammad a wild-eyed fanatic. Reverend Jeremy Vines called him a demon-possessed pedophile, and Reverend Jerry Falwell labelled him a terrorist. And it was barely a year ago when a spokesperson for India's ruling party said pretty much all of these exact same things about the Prophet Muhammad during a televised debate.
Two BJP leaders' comments on Prophet Muhammad have unleashed a backlash in Islamic nations, with Qatar, Kuwait and now Iran summoning the Indian envoy.
But were any of these Islam haters to read a historically accurate biography on Islam's holy prophet, they now would come to see him as anything but violent, backwards and misogynistic. In fact, were they to read Armstrong's book, they now would see that the Prophet Muhammad preached loyalty to God rather than tribe, reconciliation rather than retaliation, care for orphans and the poor, and the empowerment of women. I mean, let's not forget, the Quran gave women property rights and freed orphans from the obligation to marry their guardians centuries before Christian Europe did the same thing, and centuries before Christians and Jews were still treating and trading women like livestock. The Prophet also ended corruption and vice and brought peace to the war-torn Arabian Peninsula by advocating dialogue over violence while denouncing armed conflict for material or imperialistic gains.
Christianity, it was supposed to be pacifist, but it turned out not to be pacifist at all. And Islam had a more realistic view. It says that sometimes it was unfortunately necessary to fight in order to preserve decent values, but only in self-defense. There must be no aggressive warfare. And there were strong rules later developed that, for example, you could never kill, in Sharia law, you must never kill civilians. It was illegal for a ruler to attack a country where Muslims were allowed to practice their religion freely. It was forbidden to use fire in fighting, as it was too cruel. Again, the blazing towers of September the 11th come to mind, and entirely an illegal and heretical, not to say inhumane, act was committed in the name of Islam.
But before we go on, we urgently need your help to counter injustices in the Muslim world, and we can't continue this effort without you. So please consider supporting my journalism at patreon.com/CJWellerman. Our program is made possible only because of the support we receive from our wonderful patrons. Please join them in helping me bring these stories to a wider audience. Thank you. Now back to our show. Karen Armstrong says she researched and wrote this book for the sole purpose of correcting stereotypes and misconceptions about Islam. She also observes that the same things being said about Muslims today are the same repackaged lies that were said about the Jews leading up to the Holocaust. And she explains how Islamophobia became rooted in Europe during the Christian Crusades.
And it was during the Crusades, for example, when it was Christians who were fighting brutal holy wars against Muslims in the Holy Land, that scholars in Europe in the 12th century began to describe Islam as the violent religion of the sword. It was a kind of projection of a buried worry about their own behavior. Jesus, after all, had in one gospel told his followers to love their enemies, not to exterminate them. And worries about the intensely un-Christian nature of their hatred and it made them push that religion of the sword onto the other.
Now, it's a common misconception among non-Muslims that Islam spread around the world by the sword or the use of force, but nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, if you're looking for an actual religion that did indeed spread across the world through the use of violence, racism and genocide, then Christianity is the religion you're looking for. Think about the Crusades and the brutal Spanish, British, French, Dutch and Portuguese empires which spread Christianity to Asia, Africa and South America down the barrel of a gun or a ship's cannon. Islam, on the other hand, spread rapidly around the world through reason, logic and convincing arguments. After all, the Quran states clearly that there's no compulsion to accept Islam, and that for all individuals the right path will eventually become obvious from the wrong.
That is the extraordinary pluralism of the Quran. It was one of the things that first drew me to Islam. We're always being told that Islam is an inherently not only violent but also intolerant religion. The Quran insists that there must be no compulsion in religious matters, but also that all religious, rightly guided religion comes from God. The prophets of the Jews and Prophet Jesus is honored and respected. You cannot be a Muslim unless you also acknowledge the prophecy of Jesus, Moses, Abraham. And there are Muslim scholars today who say that had the Arabs known about the Buddhists and the Hindus, or indeed the Australian Aborigines or the American Indians, the Quran would have praised their religious leaders too, because every people on the face of the earth has been sent a prophet from God and a scripture in their own language according to their own cultural tradition.
In other words, it was the sword of intellect that conquered the hearts and minds of Muslims. The Quran says, invite them to the way of your God with wisdom and good instruction, and argue with them in a way that is best. Indonesia and Malaysia typify this Islamic phenomena, given no Arab or Muslim army ever conquered or invaded these Muslim majority countries. It's just a straight up historical fact that Indonesians and Malaysians accepted Islam because they were drawn to its moral message and convincing argument. I mean, the facts speak for themselves. Indonesia is the country that has the largest number of Muslims in the world, and the majority of people in Malaysia are Muslims. But no Muslim army ever went to Indonesia or Malaysia. Instead, it spread organically through trade.
The periphery of the Islamic world, with Western Sub-Saharan Africa on one side and Southeast Asia on the other, was way too far from the Islamic heartland in the Middle East for military conquests. So these regions were brought into the abode of Islam not by an army, but rather by merchants.
What has made Islam so appealing to so many people, remembering it's the world's fastest growing religion, surpassing 2 billion believers, is its unmistakable call for peace and equality. And equality is the key word here, because there's no racism in Islam. And you'll see this by visiting any mosque in America or Europe where Africans, Asians and Caucasians come together in prayer as equals before God. Pluralism is the essence of Islam, because pluralism is exactly what the Prophet Muhammad preached. And he did this by praising the prophets that came before him and by treating them as his equals.
And the prophets listened to one another. The prophets of the past don't revile Muhammad as a charlatan, and he doesn't tell them that, he's superseding them all. it's absolutely clear that they listen to one another's insights, and the prophets are all brothers. All of them, whoever they may be, this vast multitude of messengers from God. And the fact that this is the archetypal spiritual experience of Muslims, it gives an indication of the path that we all have to make when we return to the divine source of our being.
There's so much more that can be said about the Prophet Muhammad, and why our world is in desperate need for a leader of his flawless sense of morality and fairness. But what appeals to me the most, as a non-Muslim, is the Prophet's disdain for greed, materialism and ill-gotten wealth, along with his steadfast advocacy for the poor and the downtrodden, which is why he included charity as one of the 5 essential pillars of Islam. And it's for this reason Muslims are the most generous givers of charity today.
Every recitation of the Quran begins with an invocation to the compassion and mercy of God. And the Quran is really nothing but a cry for compassion. The bedrock message of the Quran is that it's wrong to build up a private fortune, but good to share your wealth equally and to look out for the vulnerable and the poor people in society. That is the chief duty of every single Muslim.
For all of these reasons, the Prophet Muhammad is the prophet of our time. His moral guidance and leadership is needed more than ever, and you can find it and follow it by learning and understanding the Quran. At the very least, I can guarantee you this: his biography will cure your Islamophobia. Anyway, that's my time for today. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and we kindly ask you please support our effort to expose and confront injustices in the Muslim world by becoming a member of this show at patreon.com/CJWellerman. We can't produce, sustain and grow the show without your help, and we offer exclusive benefits to those who do. But for now, good night, good morning, wherever you are, and stay blessed.